place with us with hope and healing. Um, so, Cheryl is outside of being all those things. She's also a supervisor and has uh, her former role was a coordinator for the Betty R. Price Counseling Center at the Crenshaw Christian Center. So she comes again with the faith-based spiritual side as well as the licensed marriage and family therapist, the clinical side of things. She's an author. I think she's put some of her publications in the book. And one of her mother's book is also, I think she put in there, Della Bishop. Um, Cheryl herself, as all of us, the common thread is at some point in life we'll grieve different things. So without further ado, I just want to, after this introduction, turn the mic over to Cheryl. And Cheryl, you have the floor from here.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. You just told my whole story. And I didn't, sometimes you don't realize how much you've accomplished because you're just busy accomplishing, you know? And when people read what all I've accomplished, I go, wow, I've done something. And I know that's one my mother's last words to me. My mother passed away in June, and her last words to me was that I'm so proud of you. And that keeps me going every day. So thank you guys for that introduction. I see that my crew is here. Thank you, crew. You guys are my ride or die. You know who you are. I love you so much. Well, thank you for being here. Okay, so I have put some things in the chat. I put because we don't have a lot of time today. I usually take about an hour and a half to do most of my talks, but I condensed this to like maybe about 30 minutes or so. And so I put the recommended books that I'm going to be referring to. Della Bishop, my mother, she didn't get a chance to see her book published, but I published it. And it is a good book. I'm telling you, I'm reading it now, and I'm telling you, I'm like, I want to say, Mama, I need you to come back and talk to me about this book. So the name of her book is Finding Our Way Back to Love. And then Lisa Turkirsch, her book, Forgiving What You Can't for, Forgiving What You Can't Forget. That was a mistake. It should be Forget. And then my book is Honor Yourself First, Lessons on How to Build Self-Confidence, Self-Worth, and Self-Love. And then T.D. Jakes, I took some stuff out of his book, is Let It Go. So I also put some music that you can listen to because I have that. And then the 4 self-forgiveness for good thinking. You can write those down. And yeah, so so that's those are the things that you can go to as a resource. So I'm just going to start. The name of my topic, if you want to put it in your note, is Forgiveness is the Best Prescription for Good Mental Health. Prescription is the best prescription for good mental health. So I'm going to talk to you guys about forgiveness, because my mother said it best, and I'll get to what she said in a few minutes. But I tell you, this is the definition of forgiveness. Psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. It's just something that we have embedded in us that we kind of lost because we were created from love, and love forgives. So, in my understanding, forgiveness is a conscious decision to release resentment toward a person or persons that hurt you. In making that decision, you cancel the debt that can't be paid. Making that decision that the ones who hurt you no longer, when you make that decision, the ones who hurt you can no longer limit you, label you, or project their lies that they have or they believe about you to you, about themselves. Because usually they project onto you what they believe about themselves, and that's how they hurt you. And then you sometimes not knowingly will believe their lies, and then you get hurt. So we're going to cancel all that. We're going to learn how not to do that. When you forgive, you step out of the prison of unforgiveness that unforgiveness puts you in, and then forgiving breaks you out of that prison. We're going to talk more about a bigger prison that you put yourself in later. This is what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not forgetting what someone has done to you, nor does it condone or excuse any offenses that were done to you. This does not do that. Because a lot of people say, well, were you supposed to forgive me? And does that mean that we're okay now? No, that means I forgive you, but I'm going to put a boundary there so that you don't hurt me again. I'm opening up my eyes to see who you really are. But I'm going to love you. I'm going to forgive you, but I'm going to go my own way. That's what forgiveness really is. It's not getting chummy with them, letting them back in your heart so they can hurt you again. It's about setting boundaries and, just making sure that your heart is not poisoned against them. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. So, forgiveness is not for the weak at heart. Mahatma Gandhi stated, this is one of me and my mother's favorite statements: the weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. So you have to be strong to forgive. It's not a weak thing. It takes a lot for some people to forgive, because some things happen to people that were so heinous that they just find it hard to forgive. You don't know what they did to me. You don't know what this happened to me. But God said we were to forgive. So if God is your help, and if you ask him, he will help you to forgive. Don't mean you got to go back and be around that person. That's not what it means. It means that you just letting your heart be free from all of the toxicity, all of the crazy things that unforgiveness can make us do. Uh, so even though some people may think that forgiveness is a sign of weakness, and actually it takes courage. So just think about it. Just like I just said, when you are asked or when you have been taught to forgive somebody who hurt you, stole from you, or in my case, we had to forgive someone who killed one of our own loved ones. I mean, twice. We had to forgive them. Don't want to be around them anymore, but we did have to forgive them. It makes it hard to even conceive of such an idea. My mother wrote in her book about a person that forgave, and she said this was the best form of forgiveness that she ever thought. This person, I think her name was Mary, her son was killed by this person. Not only did she forgive them, she helped them buy a house that was next door to her. That's forgiveness. She did not let unforgiveness or the heinous thing that they did. She looked at it like, what happened to this person that had them stoop to that level that they had to do something like that? They were asking for something to do something that terrible. So you have to remember, everybody was created from love. We were made in the image and likeness of love. So if somebody does something to hurt, to steal, to kill, that means that something has happened to them to disrupt their true nature, which is love. Does that make sense? Okay. Um, so when you make a decision, like some people say, you don't know what they did to me, and you make a decision, I will never forgive you for what you did. Well, you have made the declaration in your soul. And when you make that declaration, you give that person who hurt you power over you. You give the enemy power over you. It stops you from focusing on your purpose. It stops you or hinders you from creating. Your creativity is warped. And if unforgiveness is allowed to fester, it can manifest physical illness, such as cancer. I mean, cancer is one of the biggest things that unforgiveness develops: cancer. And it kill, steal, and destroy. Arthritis is a manifestation of unforgiveness. Asthma and other like autoimmune diseases. things that I'm just not finding out about. There's a disease I just found out about where it they have no cure for it, but it starts in the brain and it causes your face to freeze, and it's very painful. That's a manifestation of unforgiveness. Unforgiveness harbors anxiety, depression, and anger. So when you put all that poison in your body, in your system, what's going to come out? Poison. Forgiveness is only made possible by your cooperation. It is important to understand that forgiveness isn't an act of determination. It is an act of your cooperation, is what I meant to say. I hope I made that clear. Okay. It looks like how we doing on time, Angela? Okay. So I like my mother's definition, what she said in her book. And you guys, if I'm doing too much studying on my mother's book, forgive me, but it's a good book. I'm not going to tell you that it's not. It is. So in her book, Finding Our Way Back to Love, when we forgive, it clears our clogged channels and frees us to move without the baggage of hate. When I read that, I said, "Oh, mama, that was good." It clears the channel. It frees us to move without the baggage of hate. That's awesome. So forgiveness empowers us. It's also from my mother's book on page 102. It says forgiveness empowers us. It is one of the most liberating acts of love we can offer each other, not only to the others, but also to ourselves. When we forgive, we release the weight that tries to pull us back into old pain. Have you ever heard somebody say, well, they did it. Well, when did they do that? 5 years ago. What you gonna do about 5 years ago? Nothing. You might as well let it go. So forgiveness allows us to move forward, unburdened, no longer tethered to the offense of the or the offender. You no longer have to deal with them. You can give them to God and let it go. Like God said, cast your care on me because I care for you. So again, I'm casting this person and this offense onto you because you know how to deal with it better than me. You are love. So when we forgive, we are no longer controlled by what happened. We reclaim the power to shape what happens next. That's what Della Bishop said on page 102 in her book. So we are instructed to love ourselves. So you can look up Matthew 22:39, Mark 12:31, and Leviticus 19:18. I'll put it in the chat in a few minutes. Well, when I first looked at it, doesn't make sense that self-forgiveness doesn't it make sense that self-forgiveness is a part of loving ourselves? Because in those three passages, it says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. In all three of those passages, it says that. So it makes sense that self-forgiveness is a part of loving ourselves. So let's take that because the Bible doesn't have anything specific that says you got to self-forgive. It doesn't say that. But it does allude to that because when it says you got to love your neighbor as you love yourself, how you gonna love your neighbor if you don't love yourself? How can you forgive your neighbor if you don't love them? How can you not forgive yourself if you don't love yourself? So it makes sense that God is telling us to forgive ourselves. In order to forgive other people, you have to forgive yourself. I have found that in most cases, people will not forgive themselves, and I don't know why. I think it's our teaching. I think we're taught not to forgive ourselves. It's like you ought to be ashamed of yourself, and then people walk around with this shame and they're not forgiving themselves. The decision places you in a stronger prison box. When you don't forgive yourself, that box, that prison box, that unforgiveness holds you in, it becomes even stronger. Because if you can't forgive yourself, you can't forgive others. So give yourself the gift of forgiveness and escape that prison box. So this is what's what I got to say. I hope I'm everybody's getting something out of this. Is everything okay? Everybody is it good? There's my uncle. Hi, Uncle Happy. Okay, I'm going to go back to my notes. All right, so forgiveness must begin with knowing how to forgive yourself. Because if you were raised with that, well, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, and you go say you sorry. If you're raised with that type of mentality, you have to relearn, you have to learn how love works and how you can forgive yourself. So self-forgiveness is releasing the negative judgments you have towards yourself. I'm not good enough. I can't. They don't like me. I'm not pretty enough. All those are lies. Anything that stops you from being your best is a lie or a bad memory. So you're going to throw away the lies because you don't have to keep those. Identify what is a lie, even the lies you've told yourself. And the bad memories, well, that might have happened to you. Yeah, bad stuff happens. Learn from what it taught you and move forward. Don't let it keep you in a position where you don't feel good about yourself. Hey, I'm glad that happened because it gave me the opportunity to learn how to do better. If you can't find nothing else good about it, I hope that makes sense. So, the first thing to do is to understand that you cannot change what has already happened. You got to accept the fact that that's impossible. You can't go back in time, can't change it. It's done. What's done is done. All you can do is acknowledge that you did the thing, apologize for it if you need to, and then make some changes within yourself and in your behavior so that you don't have to go that route again. In other words, learn from that behavior, forgive yourself, and move on. I know that that sounds very simple, very simplistic. Oh, all I got to do is just forgive myself and move on. Well, in actuality, it does take time and it is a process. Self forgiveness and even forgiving somebody else is a process sometimes. It will, in some cases, take time to let self forgiveness absorb into your spirit and your soul so that you can truly operate in forgiveness. And sometimes that'll take like I have affirmations that I say. I forgive. Forgiveness is a gift that I give myself. I choose to forgive this person because they did not know what they were doing. Just as Jesus said, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Because we don't know where this person came from, what heinous act happened to them that made them act heinous towards you. So we have to understand that where they're coming from, what happened to them, not what's wrong with them, but what happened to them, and try to be understanding. That does not mean that you got to put yourself in harm's way. It just means that you walk away with a loving attitude. I hope that makes sense. All right. So I know that in this program, you guys in at 1 o'clock, right? Okay. So what I have for you is the
You're
affirmation.
good on time, Miss Cheryl. You're good on time.
Oh, I'm good on time. Okay, good. Okay. Well, I don't have that much more to go, but one of the things that I want to on this who's put this in? Okay, and I already read that. Okay. So one of the things that I want everybody to take away from here, if they don't take away nothing else, is that you have to forgive yourself. Make a list of everything that you think you are holding in yourself. Release that. It's like toxic waste. Release that. If you have to do it every day, release a little bit at a time until you get to the point where you are loving yourself in the way you were created to love yourself. And some of you don't even understand that or know that because you've been through so much. We go through so much like I don't like the word mistake anymore. I don't like the word fail anymore. But the lack of terminology, I don't have another word for it to have everybody understand what I'm talking about. But mistakes, failure, those words are actually opportunities. You can look at something that you did that turned out to be a mistake, or you say, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that." Look at it as, "Oh, that was an opportunity for me to learn to do something different." If you keep looking at yourself as I keep making mistakes. You say, I keep making new opportunities for myself. Change the wording, reframe the narrative so that when you look at it, it sounds more positive and you can move better, changing your brain to move in a positive direction than what it naturally want to do. And it naturally wants to go to the negative. I mean, think about it. Whenever we talking, we could be gossiping, we could be told something. The first thing we do is think of the negative. What can't happen? What if? Because we've been somehow our brain just naturally goes to the negative. So if you practice every day finding a positive spin on things, it's like, you know how they say, think of the glass as half full rather than half empty. Then your brain will automatically go to the positive. When you see somebody, you won't make a judgment of them right away. Your brain will automatically see the positive in that person. So let's do that. Let's train ourselves to be more positive. So, one of the affirmations that I'm leaving you with today is about forgiving other people. Is I understand that forgiving does not mean forgetting the hurt someone has done to me. It's just that I release their hold on my life so that I can move forward. Because as long as you hold unforgiveness for that person, they got you. They got you. And you don't, hey, I don't want nobody telling me what to do. So I just let them go so I can do my own thing. Does that make sense? And then the other affirmation is forgiveness is a gift I give myself. You can write this 100 times until you understand that it is your gift that you're going to give yourself. And you deserve to give yourself something special every day. Even if it's just a flower, if it's just, taking a nice warm bath, listening to a song that you really like, but something that you do to affirm you love yourself. Okay. And here's one of the scriptures that I used. Well, I gave you those scriptures, Mark 11:25. So we don't have to go over that anymore. So here are some things that you can do to help with forgiveness and self-forgiveness. So for forgiveness, you can write a compassionate letter to someone who has hurt you. From the point of view of understanding rather than from the point of view of accusation. Ask yourself, what might they have been carrying that caused them to act this way? And then when you write that letter, you're not writing the letter to get an apology from them, or you're not going to send it to them. You are writing the letter to give to yourself and to help you heal from that hurt. Does that make sense? Okay. So then you can write a letter of self-forgiveness. And when you write a letter from this is a separate letter that you write of self-forgiveness. There are 6 steps. Step number 1, you're going to identify what you need to forgive, why you need to forgive yourself. Like, what did you do? And then you're going to take responsibility for that action. Even if you've never taken responsibility before, you're going to take responsibility when you write yourself this letter. You're going to apologize to whoever you need to apologize for. Make amends. There's some people that you haven't forgiven, or some people that you did something to, and they may not be available anymore. So you're going to give it to God. Learn the lesson the event offered you. Number 5, make changes in your behavior and in your attitude and in yourself and in your perception. And then move forward. Go about your business. Do your thing. The next thing I want to leave with you are the 4 R's of self-forgiveness for good thinking: responsibility, remorse, restoration, and renewal. Responsibility is accepting what had happened to show yourself compassion. Remorse, use guilt and remorse as a gateway to positive behavioral change. Restoration, make amends with whomever you're forgiving, even if it's yourself. renewal, learn from the experience, and grow as a person. Well, that's all I got for today. I hope I have been a blessing. I hope the Holy Spirit moved some of you. And I just thank you so much. It was such an honor. If you need more information or forgiving, I've put some of the books that I've used in the chat. Uh, all of these books that I've mentioned, Finding Our Way Back to Love by Della Bishop, Forgiving What You Can't Forget by Lisa TerKeurst, Honor Yourself First, A Lesson in Self-Confidence, Self-Worth, and Self-Love by myself, and then Let It Go by Dr. T.D. Jakes. These are the books that I have used to help me understand how to forgive. And I also use music. Sometimes music will put you in the mood so that your soul can forgive. Your spirit is opening up to forgive, and your flesh. Remember, we're flesh, soul, and body. And all three of them need to be in accordance so that you can actually fully forgive. So, music is one of the best ways to do that, also. So, one of the songs is called I Forgive Myself and Release. And it's more of a genre than a song. And you can find all of these songs that I'm mentioning on YouTube. Love Myself by Olivia O'Brien, and then Forgiveness by Matthew West. So those that's what I have for you. So I hope I've left some time for questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. This was awesome and amazing, as I knew it would be. So I hope everyone was taking notes. And if you weren't, if you want to copy the chat, all the information is in the chat as well. So at this time, before I open it up for questions, reflections, or anything to everyone on, I want to point out also in the chat is a Zoom, I'm sorry, a survey link. So if everyone would take the time, including you, Cheryl, if you can to fill out the survey in the link, this helps us and our funding grant partner to see the work that we're doing and see the needs and assess what we need to do to keep hope and healing and to better serve you. We don't want to just prescribe what we think you need. We want to hear from you and to see how you all are doing. So with that being said, before I give my reflections to Cheryl and what I got out of it today, I want to be a courteous host, co-host, and let the guest, you all go first. So if there's any questions, comments, reflection that anyone wants to, you can take yourself off mute at this time to address our guest speaker. Anyone?
I just want to say that this was so informative. Cheryl, did you put into the chat with regards to the comment, the quote I want to say out of your mom's book? I didn't see that. I was looking for that again. Was
I
that?
didn't put I could put the quote in there.
I would appreciate.
I
Yeah,
hadn't put the quote in there, but I could put the quote. I want you to buy the book. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going to buy the book, but I
I'm just
love that
kidding.
quote in reference to what you
Uh,
said. I think the
listen,
contents of this was so good, so informative, and it always blessed me. And you know, when you do the work, always, it's always something new and fresh. And that's what I want to say with you, Cheryl. It was just really fresh to hear some of the nuances in reference to forgiveness, especially when you said forgive yourself, because a lot of times that's the hardest piece that we give any of us. I don't care what profession you are, you just have that. So I really appreciate that, and I want to thank you for this session, and thank you, Angela, for opening this up for us to be able to be a part of it.
okay, I
Thank
put
you. Yeah, someone says the link for the survey is not working. Cheryl, you and your links. Is it working for anybody else?
I know
Uh,
it's
please
it,
let
It
it,
us
it,
worked for
know.
me. I was able to
It's
You
open.
work,
working.
it worked for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
It's
okay.
Cheryl, we gonna
it's
get
working
you an
for me as
IT
well.
person on deck.
But
That's
it might be because I have these things on my computer that protects us
Yeah.
from outside stuff.
Yeah, if you have like, if you
Yeah,
have a lot of, if you have really hard firewalls, it may not.
Yeah, firewalls as
yeah,
well. Okay,
And it's
so
yeah.
I'm
okay.
gonna.
It's,
Okay.
yeah.
That's okay. That's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I'm having
Any
that
other
same
questions? Oops, I'm
situation.
sorry.
So, okay.
Any other questions, comments, reflections today?
I have a
Right.
Well,
reflection.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, sure. I just want to say thank you again. And I like how you brought up what really stood out to me is some of the old adages we hear in community and what we've heard over our lifetime and maybe in our family about you ought to be ashamed of yourself. So I just want to speak to that as for forgiveness. Growing up, being hearing that, and and with well intentions, I believe, at
Mhm.
times I believe family or our people in our communities may have said those things to ourselves. It does
Mhm.
leave a mark on us. And I felt that in my body when you said that you ought to be ashamed of yourself. The little girl in me felt that.
Mhm.
And so that is a part of forgiveness. So I like how you tie it into hoping, healing, and grief, how forgiveness is a part of grief. We grieve that, like when we
Mhm.
hold on to unforgiveness of ourselves and for others. So I just wanted to point that out. That really, really touched me when you said you ought to be ashamed of yourself and hearing
Right.
that. And so
Yeah.
that told me I can't forgive myself because I was holding the shame, or I
Yes.
can't forgive others because I'm holding the shame. And
Right.
so we have to dispel that. So thank you. So I hope everyone took that, if you heard that growing up, if you heard that, maybe you did never heard that, but I know for me, I did. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for doing this or for saying that, or we shamed other people. And that's a part of unforgiveness and unforgiveness for myself.
Mhm.
Also, I was taking little notes on stuff too. I love how
Mhm.
you said forgiveness is not for the weak. And honey, let me tell you, it is not.
Not.
It is not for the weak. It is not for the weak. So I just thank you for the scriptures, um, as I walk up my faith journey and had to deal with forgiveness, and noting that forgiveness does not mean reconciliation, does not mean that I have to go back to the harm, to the crime scene, right? I don't have to go back to the crime scene of the past,
Mhm.
but I can still forgive and walk in the newness and who God has created and called me to be. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. That really stood out to me, and the reframing of the mistakes in failure, those words. And so I like the using some words that came to mind for me in the reframe were, okay, instead of a mistake it was a setback, right?
Mhm.
Instead of a
Mhm.
failure it was a setback. Teachable moments, I always hear that, and some of us use that. I look at it as it wasn't a mistake
Mhm.
or a failure, it was a teachable moment,
Mhm.
um, or a detour, like God
Mm,
sent me on
that's
a
good. That's
detour,
good. I like that
right?
detour. Yeah.
So I want to offer those words to you. It's
Mhm.
setback,
Good.
teachable moment, or a detour. So we
Mhm.
don't have these limited self beliefs about ourselves in
Right.
our walk and our journey. So, and this I don't know how you said your topic, and this is something that I've been continuing with, was the forgiveness. So I'm so glad. We never know what our guests are going to share. What I welcome this topic today, and so I want to. For me, I've been really looking at forgiveness as freedom. And so I said this to myself just the other day before I even heard you speak, Cheryl. And I said,
Mhm.
forgiveness to me, I came up with a term called forgiveness. It's
Mm,
forgiveness.
that sounds
Because
good
when
to
I'm
me.
free, I have
Mhm.
the freedom.
Mhm.
So it's forgiveness. So y'all
Forgiveness,
can,
like that.
it's
I'm taking
forgiveness.
that one.
It's forgiveness. So yeah, I'm gonna have to put, but I said I was gonna get that, and like
Mhm.
this is forgiveness
Mhm.
because I'm free.
Yes, I'm free. Hallelujah.
All
That
right, that's
sounds
all
good
I'm
to
gonna
me.
say. I didn't want to take up the time as the co-host, so I'm gonna be respectful to our guests.
No, no,
Yeah.
we have, I know we had something from Beth was coming on and then Gail. So we'll take, Beth had unmuted herself earlier and then Gail, we see your hand next. And thank you to everyone else that's joined in recently. Couldn't come back from you.
Hi, thank you so much for speaking and everything. It really gave me a perspective of just forgiveness and healing and what that looks like. I appreciate like the activities
Mhm,
that you have.
mhm,
Um, because there's one thing to say like I forgive, but also another thing for the actual action behind
mhm,
it. And
mhm.
having those activities moves into an actionable space and what
Mhm,
that looks like. So I really appreciate having, you providing like examples of what that looks like make a list, write
mhm,
a letter,
mhm,
really being thoughtful and
mhm.
reflective, like a critical reflection on what that looks like in
Very
practice.
good. Mhm.
So I really wanted to compliment and thank you for those, things because thinking back, what forgiveness looks like in action versus
Right.
saying it.
Saying it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it contextualizes it and just grounds it in another space. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm glad you got something out of it. Very good. What was it, Gail next? Okay.
Yes, Gail's next. Go ahead, Gail.
Okay, I'm trying to see if I, huh.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Gail.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I'm
Gail.
coming. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Okay.
Okay, here I am. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I just have a quick one to say. Um, I was in a women's meeting, I think maybe just a couple of weeks ago, and the subject was forgiveness. And to me, it was so absent from the discussion, the forgiveness of self. So I finally spoke up and I said, does anybody else have a challenge with forgiving self? I said, I really don't have much of a challenge with forgiving other people, for the most part. But self, that's a whole different thing.
A
And it
whole
became
different one.
silent. No one said anything. So I didn't know whether it meant they don't have that challenge or they didn't want to discuss it. But thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Very, very enlightening. And I had already gotten some assistance with that just by reading your book.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, so that is it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Yeah, self-forgiveness is like a power struggle. It's like you're warring against like what uh Angela was talking about, that old people meaning well, but not saying the right things, and then you carry this unforgiveness of yourself all your life, and then since you've had it all your life, it's hard for it to let go. It's like it sticks to you like it's part of you, and you have to scrape it off, and so it takes time. I just want, so I don't think it was easy. Yeah. Anyone
Thank you for
else?
that, Gail. Thank you for that, Miss Cheryl.
Mhm.
I didn't really have so much a question as really a testimony about self-forgiveness and just forgiveness because you brought up something that I try to tell people, remind people of, about the connection between unforgiveness and autoimmune disease,
Mhm.
and how it shows up in our bodies when we carry unforgiveness, whether that's I don't forgive somebody else or I don't forgive myself,
Mhm.
and how they've been able to connect that to things like you said, autoimmune disease, and you know I know just for myself, you know, going through divorce and then the death of my son, I had to be really, really, really intentional to process forgiveness,
Mhm.
because at one time I was like on 12 different medications.
Wow.
Yeah, I was, and I keep bottles. I'm not on them any longer. I keep the bottles as a reminder that when you are harboring,
Mhm.
I went towards a certain individual, when you harbor that resentment, it was like showing up in my body, and I kept going to the doctor, and for different things were showing up. And they're like, oh, it's this, and this, and it's that. And then when I just really began to work through like releasing that individual and releasing forgive and really just being about the work of forgiveness. And even when I had to work through forgiving myself, I actually had to forgive myself for being disobedient to God. Like God showed me something. I was like, well, it may not be that bad, Lord. You know how we do. And
Yep.
so I had to really like work through forgiving myself for that, that
Mhm.
level of disobedience. And I will say that I have not this was years ago, but I have not had to be on medication for years. But I keep all 12 of those bottles as a reminder. And what I learned this from somebody else not long ago is like every day, like you just kind of get up and say, I forgive everybody for everything, including
Mhm.
myself. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
like just like a
Mhm.
reminder, like I'm not carrying nothing, I'm not
Mhm.
keeping nothing. And I forgive everybody for everything, and
Mhm.
even myself. And I just kind of make that a process, you know.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean
Mhm.
I don't get frustrated, but I'm like, I'm not going back to being sick again.
Right.
No,
Amen to that.
yeah, I'm not gonna let you make me sick,
Right.
or any, you know what I'm saying? And so, and not even myself. So I just wanted to give so I want to just share with anybody, if you like, when you have stuff going on in your body, yes, go to the doctor, but also check into, which is the point of this conversation, right? Check in with your mental
Mhm.
state, check in with your emotional state.
I forgive every. I
You know what I'm saying?
forgive
Because
everybody.
there's oftentimes a connection, not always,
You're right.
but
Not all.
oftentimes there's a
All the
connection.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that to light. Great.
Okay. Well, it sounds well. It's true. You know, we the sometimes it could be so profound that people have lost their ability to walk, speak, and even to live. They die. You know, this unforgiveness of self has killed them. Unforgiveness of someone else that they had, the person that did the harm, they're gone off by doing whatever they want to do. They don't even know what you're mad about, and you stuck. So yeah, so I that was, I was going to speak on something else, but then the Holy Spirit said, nope, you're going to speak on forgiveness because I'm dealing with forgiving. I'm doing with that. So whenever you have a issue and God has called you to a purpose, He always give you the assignment that you need to work on. You know. So yeah. So I hope everybody got something good. But
Yeah.
as
We have a couple more minutes if there's any questions. If not, but we do have if there's any more questions or comments, feel free for anybody from the community to share. You can unmute.
I just want to give a personal shout out to my little sister who's on. My younger sister Tamara, all the way in Illinois and Chicago right now. So thank you, sis, for being here. Um,
hey sis. Yeah. I think I gave him a shout out. My uncle, my heart, my mentor is here. And I think this is the first time he's ever seen me speak. So hello, Uncle Othello. And he's coming here in from, where is it? Not from Washington DC anymore. You're in Merle. I don't know. He's from back east. Okay.
so we
He's
got
back east.
people all over. Thank you, Hope and Healing. Thank you, God. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So this was very nice. I really
Mm.
appreciate doing this. And it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. God said, well, you already got everything that you need. Just go do, just go. Because he told me a long time ago, you're going to be speaking. And I go, where? And then I was just led to start bringing up and start writing speeches about topics that I was interested in. He said, well, you already got the topic. Just pull it in. I said, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
thank
before
you.
we finish, we appreciate you all for being here. We're from wherever you are on your breaks, taking time out of the day again. We are here bi-weekly, so we have different speakers and some other things for those that are local. We have a Hoping Healing Harvest Fellowship on November. Oh, do you have the flyer of there? But
Yeah,
it's
it's
coming
November
up.
22nd. Yeah, November 22nd. If you give me 1 second, I can share my screen and pull it up, but
Yeah.
it's in the chat. And then we can share. Give me one
Yeah.
second. But yes, we have an in-person event coming up. And so It's gonna be 11/22. We're gonna be at the Rock Church. Just trying to pull the flyer. I'm sorry, it's taking a minute.
That's okay. And this is our
but I-
first annual Hope and Healing for the holidays, in person sort of potluck. So as she's pulling the flyer up, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
What time would that event be?
it's at 3 o'clock. So
Okay.
It's
it's
on a Saturday,
Saturday, the
um,
22nd.
the set 22nd.
I don't know why I can't pull it up all of a sudden. Oh, here we go. My screen was doing something. Yes, so save the date. Oh gosh, where is this flyer at now? I can't find it. Where's it? Where's the flyer? Hold on, y'all. Don't go no place. We trying to find it. Here we go. Nope, it is not. Okay, I'm gonna have to, you all will get it in the email, but just save the date because I don't want to take up time. Save the date, October 22nd.
November?
November 22nd, look at me, November 22nd at 3 o'clock. We're gonna be at the Rock Church, which is just on, it was on Vermont, like right off the 10 freeway when you get off of Vermont. But I have everybody's email address and we will send that to you right away. For some reason, my Canva is not loading and things aren't opening up for me. I'm not sure what's going on. So that's our in-person gathering, but you will get, as soon as we get off, everyone will get an email for that. And then our next virtual gathering will be on November 29th. We'll be back here again on virtual on the 29th. So November 22nd will be in person, and we want everyone to join us. And so we'll send that out. Let me see if I have an RSVP link I can send to you. I might be able to put that in the chat. Yep, I do. I can put that in the chat right now. Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know
we're
why-
calling it our Hope and Healing Harvest Celebration, a Thanksgiving of Healing. So, and if you want to, if you RSVP, you're able to make it. We're asking if you choose to bring a dish in memory of a loved one, maybe their favorite dish, to share as we fellowship together. And yeah, just a time of hope and healing celebration.
Yeah, there's the link to that, if you want to go ahead and RSVP now, you can. So thank you everyone for joining us. These are always, so meaningful to all of us, and so glad to have you all joining us. And we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible. Some of you are out of state, but if you're able to join us on 22nd in person, once you click that link and get the RSVP, the information is there as well. But we have everybody's email address, so we'll send the flyer out today so you can share it out. And then we'll also see you again on November 29th.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
blessed
good
day,
rest.
everyone. Thank you so very much.
Bye, everyone. Loves and
Thank you.
kisses.
Thank you, Miss Cheryl. Thank you,
You're
thank you,
welcome.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Othello, Alicia, Cortland, we see you. Marilyn, we see you. Nisha, Sandra, Stacy, we see you. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.